What's up, guys? This is Cory, and welcome to ReviewTube. And today, we're going to talk about the 1990s TV series Goosebumps. Now, Goosebumps was based on a series of books by R.L. Stine that contained, a bunch of short horror stories that were aimed to scare children. And in the mid-90s, 1995, they created a TV show that was based on several of the books. And it lasted for about 4 seasons, and you had a huge mix of some of the works of R.L. Stine. Well, no, they're all R.L. Stine's work, but it was just a mixture of all sorts of different stories by his work. So for the Halloween season, I thought I'd go ahead and watch all of the episodes and give you guys my top 13 favorite Goosebumps episodes, and then in the middle somewhere I'm going to share my top 5 least favorite episodes. My number 13 is the only slot that I will have two episodes joined together, and the only reason is because they are very similar, and the 2 episodes are Night of the Living Dummy 2 and Bride of the Living Dummy. Night of the Living Dummy 2 follows a family who like to put on like a talent show type thing every week, and the young girl is big into ventriloquism, and her father gives her a gift of a ventriloquist doll named Slappy, who comes to life and causes trouble. And in Bride of the Living Dummy, Slappy comes back and causes trouble again and creates a bride. I really like both of these episodes. I thought that they were a lot of fun. Slappy is a very good character, and one that's kind of a staple of the Goosebumps series. I never read the second or third books. I read the first one back in the day, and I liked it. But yeah, I really like these episodes. Slappy was a lot of fun to watch, and it's definitely a very memorable episode. Number 12 is the Cuckoo Clock of Doom. This one follows a young boy who just celebrated his birthday. His father gets a cuckoo clock, and something happens, and it causes the boy to go back in time. And he starts reliving certain moments of his life, specifically moments where he has a birthday. But the problem is he keeps going back in time, so he has to try and figure out how to get back to the present. It's an interesting episode. I really liked a lot of the way that it was presented and the writing of it. It was very interesting the way it was put together. The effects were minimalistic, but they were decent enough, and it's a rather interesting episode. I hadn't read the book, but I liked it. Number 11, Monster Blood, and I want to put emphasis on the second part of Monster Blood episode. The first one was good, but the second part was better. It just was a lot more interesting. It was a little more claustrophobic. It's the first one, you've got brother and sister go to their aunt's house, and they find a jar that says Monster Blood, which causes things to get bigger. And there's an evil witch who's a frog and all sorts of stuff. I mean, it's kind of weird, but basically they stop the monster and everything seems to go back to normal. And at the end of the episode, they are flying, they're in an airplane, and apparently Monster Blood is on the plane. And part 2 focuses on the plane and how the Monster Blood takes over and eats all the passengers and stuff, and it's up to the kids to try and survive. And it's really well done. I really like this episode. The effects were really neat, and it's a really enjoyable episode. Number 10, The Girl Who Cried Monster. This one was the first episode on Netflix, and it was the most interesting one I saw. Not of the entire series, but I mean, for an early episode, it was one of the better ones. And basically it follows a girl who visits the library often, and she thinks there's something going on with the librarian. Well, it turns out that he is eating bugs and is an alien who is wanting to, I guess, take her and eat her or something. But, something's not right with the librarian. He's an alien, and so she's trying to escape. And there's a twist near the end that was kind of interesting. I didn't see it coming, and it's a rather neat episode. The makeup effects on the librarian were really good, and it's a really fun episode. Number 9, You Cant Scare Me. This one follows a couple of kids trying to scare a classmate of theirs, and she's not afraid of anything. There's these mud monsters that are supposedly in the swamp, and they try and scare her at the swamp, but she knows that they don't exist, but turns out they actually do exist. And it was actually a lot of fun. The monster makeup was really good. The story was fun, and I liked the characters in it. Number 8, The Werewolf of Fever Swamp. This episode, when I was a kid, scared the crap out of me. I was pretty much mortified by this episode. But rewatching it as an adult, it's interesting. It's really well done. The werewolf effects are really good. It's a really interesting story, and I really liked it. Number 7, Werewolf Skin. This one follows a young kid who's visiting his aunt and uncle, and they tell him, don't go out at night. There's something not right. There's a legend about werewolves, and if you destroy the skin of a werewolf, it kills the werewolf inside the person. And turns out the werewolves actually do exist, and he has to try and stop the werewolves from taking over and turning him into one. And it's really well done. I really like that one. Number 6, Shocker on Shock Street. I really liked this episode. The kind of look into special effects makeup artists and the guy who creates the masks of these different creatures for movies and stuff was really neat to me. And there was a twist near the end that, again, I didn't see coming and was kind of interesting. I was kind of shocked by it. But yeah, I really liked this episode. It held my interest and was just interesting. Number 5, One Day at HorrorLand. And I want to stress that the first part of this was much better than the second part, but the second part is still pretty decent. And it basically follows a family who are lost. They're trying to get to this petting zoo, and they come across a amusement park called HorrorLand. They go inside, and it's scarier than they thought it would be. A lot of the rides are dangerous, and the monsters who are running this place are real and trying to eat them. And it's kind of a freaky episode, but at the same time, it's really well done. I like the makeup effects on the monsters, and it's just a really fun episode to watch. Number 4, The Haunted Mask 2. This is the sequel to The Haunted Mask, and it basically continues the story of Carly Beth, but focuses more on one of her classmates who tries to get one of the masks that was in this retail shop that Carly Beth got her mask from. And once you put on the mask, you can't take it off, and things are creepy and everything. It's a fun episode. It's a good follow up to the first one, and it's definitely worth checking out. Number 3 is Night of the Living Dummy 3. This one basically follows a couple of kids. Their family's big into ventriloquism, and their cousin comes to visit who is afraid of everything, or so it seems. And Slappy comes to life and brings another puppet to life, and they cause trouble and mayhem and stuff, and it's a lot of fun. It's really well done. My number 2 is Stay Out of the Basement. I grew up with this one. I really loved it growing up, and I still really like it today. It's really interesting. Basically, the story is that brother and sister, their father is a botanist who is working on some kind of experiment down in the basement. And, you know, they are told not to go into the basement. Well, they do, and they do go down in the basement and, you know, discovers weird things. And turns out that a plant has taken the role of their father, who's an imposter and is trying to turn the kids into plants. And, you know, it's really interesting. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of good special effects, and, you know, it's one of the better episodes of Goosebumps, like one of the most memorable episodes. Before I give you my number 1, which I think number 1's kind of obvious at this point, I'm going to share with you my bottom 5. These were the episodes that I just had a hard time sitting through and just did not enjoy at all. Number 5 was Phantom of the Auditorium. This one follows a group of theater kids who are, there's like a phantom that is taking kids or something, and I mean, it really just wasn't that interesting to me. I was a theater kid myself, and so I thought I would really enjoy it, but I just never got behind the whole phantom thing. It just didn't interest me. Number 4 was Don't Go to Sleep. Basically, a kid is stuck in his dreams and has nightmares of weird things, and I had a hard time sitting through this one. It just wasn't very interesting. The acting was poor, and I didn't care. Number 3, this was the second episode on Netflix in season 1, and quickly, like, I saw the first episode, and I'm like, oh, that's really good, and then the second episode, which was this, I was like, ooh, that's that's not very good. And it came from beneath the kitchen sink. Basically, a family moves in, and there's a creature underneath the sink, and it's a sponge with a mouth, and it was just poorly done. It wasn't scary or interesting, it just was kind of bad. I just didn't enjoy it at all. Number 2 is Strained Peas, which is basically about a demonic baby. The effects were poor, the acting was poor, I just didn't care. Season 3 was very hard to sit through. There were a lot of bad episodes in that season, and this one was no exception. It just was not very good. And then the worst episode that I watched was Ghost Beach, which basically a couple of kids are roaming the beach, and they come across a couple of kids who tell them about this haunted cave, and things happen that really was just very boring, very uninteresting. I didn't care about it at all. I mean, it's got a 6.9 on IMDb, so obviously there are other people smarter than me who really enjoyed it. I just did not. It was the least interesting of all of the episodes I watched. And so, going back to my favorites list, number 1 is obviously The Haunted Mask. I do think that this is the best episode that Goosebumps put out. It was the first episode to be put out, and yeah, it's a very special episode. It's one of the creepier episodes. The effects are really well done. The acting's great. And it's just a lot of fun to watch. Carly Beth is really good. You sympathize with her character right away because she's kind of bullied and everything. And the haunted mask is kind of creepy to look at. And when she can't get it off, it's kind of like, well, how is she going to get out of this? It makes for a really interesting episode. So I really like it, and I think many other people do too. So I mean, that's my list of the best episodes of Goosebumps. It was fun to watch them, but at the same time it got tedious to watch some of them. But I'm glad I did it. So tell me guys, did you watch Goosebumps growing up? If you did, what'd you think of it? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? What was the scariest episode for you? What was your favorite? Comment below, let me know. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you like this video, be sure to like, favorite, subscribe. Be sure to friend us on Facebook. Link in the description below. And thanks for watching. And I'll have a great Halloween. Be safe. And enjoy yourselves. I'll see you guys later.